Hello, everyone. If you have been thinking about upgrading your digital or commerce capabilities, the decisions that you have to make is going to be the e-commerce or the digital platform that you will be using to drive your digital traffic. And the choice of e-commerce platform may drive the customer experience, and it might also have impact on your operational processes. So today we are going to be discussing about different options out there for e-commerce and how to choose one. Hello, everyone. My name is Sam Gupta, and I am principal at Elevate IQ. Elevate IQ is the independent ERP and digital transformation consulting firm. We help companies with system selection, digital transformation, strategy development, e commerce platform selection, e commerce project recovery, e commerce integration. So let's go back to today's topic, which is going to be different ERP system options out there for companies that might be developing e-commerce capabilities. So the couple of factors that we typically look at when we are developing this list, and they are going to be, first of all, how capable these systems are going to be, whether these capabilities are going to be aligned with some of the latest trends that we are seeing in the digital commerce market in different industries. For example, how deep their headless capabilities are going to be, how deep their support for multiple programming languages are going to be, and how deep their integration and the shipping ecosystem is going to be overall from the payment perspective, as well as from the shipping perspective. Also, how deep their platforms are going to be. Let's say if you need to evolve, if you need to integrate with many different systems, and whether you are going to be compliant from the SEO perspective as well. So these are some of the factors that we capture. But then the other factors that we are going to be looking at is going to be who is funding that company and how developed the ecosystem is going to be, how many Git repositories the ecosystem is going to have overall from the development perspective, how cloud native the offering is going to be, how easy it is going to be for users to use, how open the community is if you want to get support from the community. So these are some of the factors that we look at when we compile this list. So let's look at the list. Now, number 10 on our list is going to be SAP Hybris Commerce. And SAP Hybris Commerce is targeted for the companies that are either going to be on SAP ERP or SAP products, and they are trying to develop the e-commerce capabilities. Now, if you look at traditionally, there were only so many options overall from the commerce perspective. There was a clear divide between your SMB and the enterprise space. In the enterprise space, you got far deeper capabilities packaged as part of your product because the operational workflows you had to support the commerce operations of the large enterprises, they were far deeper. The control that you required in these operational processes was far greater, and that was built in as part of the system such as SAP Hybris Commerce, or you talk about Oracle ATG. Now, the SMB developer community never liked those systems because they were not as friendly, they were not as customizable. The experience that you could get from them was very clunky overall. It was never comfortable. It took far longer to be able to develop these capabilities on top of those softwares, and that's why the SMB communities never liked them. In the SMB community, you had different vibe overall from the open source perspective. For example, let's say if you look at the WordPress ecosystem is one of the most developed ecosystem overall from the open source perspective, but it always struggled with those, the deep commerce capabilities. And that's where companies such as your Shopify and BigCommerce came along, and they provided a lot of different capabilities out of the box that your smaller companies needed, and they did it with the help of your subscription offering. So it was just easier for the SMB companies to acquire these capabilities and acquire a lot of different apps that might sit on top of Shopify and BigCommerce platform. And that's why they became so mainstream. Now, let's look at the strength of SAP Hybris. So one of the strengths that SAP Hybris is going to have is going to be that it is pre-integrated with other enterprise-centric SAP offerings such as your Caritas Cloud, SAP C4 HANA, SAP Immerses. So these are going to be some of the plus points for SAP. And when you look at the commerce needs of very large enterprises, they are going to have very different operational workflow. For example, let's say if you look at the sales compensation management processes that need to be inbuilt as part of your e-commerce workflow. And if each of the transaction you are paying the commission to your salespeople, then you need to integrate your operational processes as part of your coding process as well as your e-commerce processes. Now that's a much tighter integration. If you are going to be doing all of that in your SMB platforms, that's going to be extremely trickier. And that's where SAP Hybris Commerce really shines in those operational aspect of the commerce workflows that you are probably not going to find in any of the SMB solutions. The other strength for SAP Hybris is going to be the overall technical capabilities to be able to run the larger sites is going to be far deeper. And the flexibility that you have with the SAP Hybris Commerce is going to be, it can be deployed on the cloud of your choice. So you don't have to tie yourself with the SAP cloud infrastructure. So these are going to be some of the strengths of SAP Hybris Cloud. Now the weaknesses. Overall, SAP Hybris is not going to have as a strong developer community. They are really behind overall in their cloud and headless journey, even though they are going to claim that they have some capabilities. But since the ecosystem is not as strong, so you are not going to find as many options overall in the SAP Hybris portfolio. Now, the other weakness that SAP Hybris is going to have is going to be it has very clunky interface overall for the comments. So you are going to be limited overall in terms of the interface, and the customization is going to require far longer overall in SAP Hybris because of the tightness of the data model, the tightness of their platform in terms of the way the delivery model works. In case of your SAP Hybris. Now, the SAP Hybris, one of the challenges why it is so limited is because it still utilizes some of those legacy technologies, the Java Spring framework. It does not use the modern JavaScript centric frameworks such as React or Angular. Yes, you can probably utilize one of those frameworks as well, but then you need to be putting a lot more effort overall in enabling those capabilities. You are not going to get as much support from the open source ecosystem as you are going to get with some of the other platforms. But having said that, SAP Hybris Commerce is still a very strong contender for the large commerce organization, and that's the reason why it ranks at number 10 on our list. Now, number 9 on our list is going to be Oracle Commerce Cloud. In Oracle Commerce Cloud, suffers from similar limitation as SAP Hybris. The main difference between Oracle Commerce and the SAP Hybris is going to be that it always had slightly deeper marketing capabilities, and the marketing capabilities are going to be relevant for your commerce experience as well. So, for example, let's say if you are looking for digital asset management integration, that needs to be part of your content management workflow, that needs to be enabled as part of your commerce experience as well. And you are going to find that in Oracle Commerce, SAP is probably going to struggle with these capabilities because they don't have a tool in their portfolio for these capabilities. Now, the other strength for Oracle Commerce Cloud is going to be that they can support headless commerce, but the experience is probably going to be similar to your SAP Hybris or Salesforce, that they all are claiming that they can support headless, but you might not be able to integrate with some of the modern headless platform, whether you are talking about the Contentful or let's say commerce tools. If you need to integrate the best of breed capabilities from some of those tools, you might struggle with that, and you might need to spend a lot in terms of the development as well as configuration. The other strength for Oracle Commerce Cloud is going to be that it is integrated with enterprise grade CPQ platform. And if you have very configurable product where you are going to be requiring the product data, the pricing that needs to be part of your CPQ, workflow, then you probably will require the tight integration with your CPQ. Again, when you have the large enterprise and when you have very complex supply chain, and then the CPQ experience is going to be far deeper as well. And in that, the Oracle Commerce Cloud is probably going to be handy. Now, the weakness for the Oracle Commerce Cloud is going to be that it still has very clunky out of the box interface, and the themes, it's very limiting overall. If you look at the customer experience, if you are going to be looking at some of the modern sites that are going to be developed either in React or Wood.js, they are going to feel very different overall from what is going to be developed as part of your Oracle Commerce Cloud. Now, if you want to enable the custom experience, you want to integrate React with your Oracle Commerce, obviously that's going to be slightly more heavy lifting than the native integration that you are going to find in some of the other ecosystems that we are going to be discussing as part of this list. The other weakness for Oracle Commerce Cloud is the community and ecosystem is just not as strong as you are going to find with some of the other commerce platforms. But having said that, Oracle Commerce Cloud is still a very strong platform for those large regulated corporations, and for those reasons, it ranks at number 9 on our list. Now, number 8 on our list is going to be the platform called Dynamics 365 Commerce. Now, in comparison with SAP Hybris or Oracle Commerce, Dynamics 365 has slightly deeper capabilities overall from the commerce perspective. It is built as part of the cloud native platform. So if you are going to be on Microsoft platforms, you are going to find the transition slightly easier. You have the Microsoft marketing, you have your Microsoft Commerce Journey Builder, and then you have the Microsoft Commerce Dynamics 365 Commerce as well. So the interface is going to be one of the factors for Microsoft. The other things that are going to be important for your Microsoft Dynamics 365 Commerce is going to be the enterprise grade features that you are going to get in terms of the controlling prices, promotions, and products. And if you want just one technical stack that is going to flow from your front end to back end, that's where that tight integration is really going to help. Now, some of the weaknesses for the Dynamics 365 Commerce is going to be it's going to have far weaker e-commerce capabilities that you are going to find in some of the other e-commerce platforms. It's also going to have weaker digital asset management and the digital experience platform capabilities, even though they might have a few capabilities, but they are not going to be as deep as you are going to find with some of the other platforms such as Optimizely or Bloomreach. So the other weaknesses for Dynamics 365 are very similar. That is going to be weaker support for modern JS frameworks and headless, even though Microsoft is doing a lot of development in that ecosystem as well. But overall, the commerce capabilities are not as developed. But having said that, Dynamics 365 Commerce could be a great platform for companies that might already have a lot of Microsoft technology as part of their stack, and they might want to use the Microsoft technology as part of their stack for the commerce as well. And for that reason, it ranks at number 8 on our list. Now, number 7 on our list is going to be the tool called Shift4Shop or 3D Cart. It is the SMB solution, and it is one of the strongest in the SMB segment for B2C as well as B2B capabilities. It has far deeper capabilities overall, and it has much stronger CMS component as well for the business users to be able to easily develop the e-commerce functionality. So some of the strengths for Shift4Shop is going to be the easy interface. Is the strength because you can easily pick up on interface. You don't really require as much support from the IT or development community to be able to pick up, and you can easily develop your commerce presence. Now, the other strength for 3D Cart is going to be ability to use just the cart functionality. So for example, let's say you might be on WordPress or you might have your custom site, and the only thing you are looking for from 3D Cart perspective is the cart functionality that you may want to utilize, and you can easily tier that up and utilize that as part of your existing website. The final strength for 3D Cart is going to be B2B and B2C functionality both, and it has very deep B2B functionality built as part of the platform. For example, when you talk about different capabilities from the shipping perspective, from the workflow perspective, the way your attributes are going to be, the way your styles are going to be. All of those capabilities are part of the platform, and that's easier for a lot of different B2B companies. The major weakness for 3D cart is going to be their data model is very limiting. And if you look at the SEO URLs, they still utilize the numbers as part of the URLs. And that could be a huge limitation, because the whole idea of e-commerce capabilities is going to be to acquire newer customers. If you are utilizing it for just for the existing customers, then it's a different case. Then there is no problem at all. But let's say if your goal is to drive newer traffic on your e-commerce platform, then that's probably going to be a huge limitation for 3D cart. 3D cart is also not designed for the large enterprises. You are not going to find the enterprise data set and the data model that you are going to be needing to support the needs of those large enterprises. And the ecosystem is not as big overall in the 3D cart space as you are going to find in case of, let's say, Shopify or BigCommerce. They are going to have far bigger ecosystem overall. Having said that, Ship for Shop could be a great option, especially for companies that might not care for the newer traffic. And for those reasons, it ranks at number 7 on our list. Number 6 on our list is going to be the Episerver Digital Commerce, or the Optimizely platform. Now, this is targeted for slightly larger B2B centric organizations, and it has one of the deepest B2B capabilities to enable the commerce experience. So some of the strengths is going to be the content management platform. The content management platform is one of the most intuitive for the business users to be able to drive different pages. You have ability to change the layouts. That is going to be limiting in the smaller platforms such as your 3D cart. Now, the other strength for Episerver or Optimizely is going to be the digital experience or the experimentation platform. So if you need to test newer features, you can easily do that. You can do the data segmentation. So these capabilities are very enterprise grade that are bundled as part of the product. So if you're going to have very deep e-commerce capabilities in terms of A/B testing, etc., that's where Optimizely is going to be a great platform for you. One of the other strengths for Optimizely is going to be the rich B2B features. And B2B is very different from B2C in terms of the product model that it is going to have, the kind of commerce workflow it is going to have overall, from how your dealers are going to be interacting with your end consumers, the way your channels are going to be structured. These all are different capabilities. And typically, if you are going to enable these capabilities in a B2C platform, that is going to feel very counterintuitive, and it's not be as easily adopted as the B2B dedicated platform. So some of the weaknesses for Optimizely is going to be the ecosystem. Ecosystem is not going to be as big as some of the other platforms such as Magento, BigCommerce. And the other weakness is going to be maybe too big for smaller brands. So for smaller brands, you might get better value if you are going to go for the smaller solutions. In this particular case, the learning maybe you might need to spend a lot more time in learning how this works. And that could cost a lot more money in your e-commerce efforts. So it's not really designed for smaller companies and could be expensive. This is definitely expensive. This is the trend. This is the comment that we get in all of the reviews for Episerver and Optimizely. But you get far deeper capabilities, and that's why it is really targeted for those mid-size commerce organization as opposed to the smaller organization. And for these reasons, it ranks at number 6 on our list. Number 5 on our list is going to be the platform called WooCommerce. And WooCommerce is really targeted for the companies that might be on WordPress and they might be utilizing WooCommerce only for the e-commerce capabilities. The strength of WooCommerce is going to be really the price, because it's not offered as the SaaS option where companies are going to be charging based on each of the transactions that you are going to process. You might have limited payment options, and even if you have the payment options, they might be upcharging you for their platform. With WooCommerce, you don't really have that limitation. The other strength of WooCommerce is going to be it's really open source, so you don't really have those limitations as you are going to have with some of the other platforms And then the other strength for WooCommerce is going to be the superior content management system. Overall, the content management capabilities are going to be far deeper as compared to some other platforms, but the commerce capabilities might not be as deep. The weaknesses for WooCommerce is going to be one of the problems that WooCommerce has is the user and permission management. And that's where it might be great for the content management system, but for the commerce management systems, especially when you are talking about slightly more regulated organizations where you have multiple hierarchies of your users and roles, it becomes very clunky overall in terms of using it. So if you have very complex sales and marketing organizations, WooCommerce may not be the best fit. Now, the e-commerce capabilities are going to be limited. You might require a lot of add-ons, and those add-ons are going to cause a lot of different conflicts, problems, technical errors that you cannot afford to have those, because if you are going to have these technical conflicts, sometimes your site may go down and you might suffer from the SEO perspective. So you want to make sure that you're not going to have as much technical issues overall in your e-commerce platform. So that could be a serious weakness for WooCommerce. The other weakness for WooCommerce is going to be the limited enterprise commerce functionality. It really feels very unnatural when you are going to use it for the enterprise commerce functionality, even if you are going to be very small organization. But if your sales and marketing processes are very complex and your e-commerce workflows are very complex, overall the way your order progresses through your stage 1 to stage 2, that could be very limiting overall in the WooCommerce platform. But still, WooCommerce is a very strong platform for some of the smaller e-commerce shops, and that's the reason why it ranks at number 5 on our list. Now, number 4 on our list is going to be a platform called Salesforce Commerce. And Salesforce Commerce has been developing a lot more capabilities in the commerce space. Some of the strengths for Salesforce Commerce is going to be the ecosystem. And Salesforce is really committed for the developer ecosystem. Their acquisitions are really aligned with their commerce capabilities, the community-driven experience, and they are really enabling that customer experience for the enterprise-centric companies. And Salesforce Commerce has been winning a lot in the enterprise space for commerce. So some of the other strength that Salesforce Commerce is going to be those enterprise grade commerce capabilities with respect to personalization, customer data platform for both B2B and B2C experience that you are not going to get in some of the other platforms that are going to be targeted for SMB. In the larger systems, the platforms are not going to be as modern as Salesforce Commerce. The other strength for Salesforce Commerce is going to be the deep merchandising and the product recommendation cap. And Salesforce has been very strong overall in its AI capabilities. So it's really going to shine when you have very deep product portfolio where you need to utilize recommendation engine overall from the AI perspective. Salesforce Commerce is very strong there. The limitation for the Salesforce Commerce is going to be always price. Salesforce in general is very expensive compared to some of the other platforms. The final weakness is going to be Salesforce Commerce is not really designed for the smaller brands. If you are a smaller brands, you might be better off going for something like Shopify or BigCommerce or Magento, and then sometimes WooCommerce as well. But Salesforce Commerce is designed for larger brands. But if you are an enterprise, it could be a great solution. And for these reasons, it ranks at number 4 on our list. Now, number 3 on our list is going to be Adobe Commerce or Magento. And Magento has always been very enterprise grade commerce platform that has very deep commerce capabilities, and they are going even deeper. So some of the strengths for Adobe Commerce is going to be that you are going to get far deeper enterprise grade functionality for B2B as well as B2C. It has a lot of best of breed options. The options that you are going to find in, let's say, the Salesforce Commerce portfolio or SAP Hybris or Oracle ATG, Adobe Commerce or Magento can compete there in terms of those big B2B and B2C functionality that you are going to require for your commerce operations. If you are purely talking about content management, etc., then it's different. I mean, a lot of platforms can support that, but even the content management experience is going to be far superior overall because of the native support for the Adobe Designer Suite. So that's the strength for Magento. Now, the other strength for Magento is going to be open source. So you are not really paying per transaction, but you are on your own for the hosting, for support. If let's say your transaction volume is going to be far higher, Magento might be cheaper for you sometimes, depending upon the hosting platform that you're using. If they are not charging per transaction, or if they are cheaper, and if you don't have as much of a problem with respect to your speed, then that could be an option. The weakness for Magento is going to be the learning curve. Just because the platform is very complex, it might come across as very difficult for the smaller organization. It might be overwhelming for the business users just because of the complexity of the data model and the complexity of the platform as well. Again, it's not really designed for the smaller. And for these reasons, Adobe Commerce or Magento ranks at number 3 on our list. Now, number 2 on our list is going to be the platform called BigCommerce. And BigCommerce is really targeted for the SMB, B2B brands. And it is not really targeted for larger brands. It's not going to have as deep enterprise capabilities. So some of the strength of BigCommerce is going to be big capabilities for B2B brands. When you talk about the data model, the product model, the way your pricing is going to work, the way your channel is going to work, those capabilities are far deeper in BigCommerce because that is really aligned for the B2B business model. Now, the other strength for BigCommerce is going to be it's really a very intuitive platform that you don't really require as much development or the IT help to manage the platform. You can do a lot of things on your own. But then when you are going to have complex workflow, you can always get help from your IT. But for the most part, let's say if you are talking about content management workflow, you can pretty much do on your own. Now, the other strength for BigCommerce is going to be the larger number of options tailored to your revenue. So they have many different options depending upon where you are overall in terms of revenue range. Sometimes that might not be as prolific in some other ecosystems. So BigCommerce is really good at that. If you are a startup, they are going to have very different price point than if you are going to be a very large company. The weakness for BigCommerce is going to be for enterprise grade features, you are going to be requiring a lot of add-ons. And that's why it is really targeted for SMB. Once you outgrow that, then you probably would require enterprise grade platform. It's not really designed for B2C experiences. So for example, if your business model is going to have B2B as well as B2C, you might find it a little challenging. So you really need to analyze, okay, what is your primary business model? Where do you have more operational complexity? And based on that, you need to decide which one is going to be a better platform for you. The other limitation for BigCommerce is going to be when you look at the enterprise workflow, when you need the DXP, probably would require an add-on for that. So you are going to be requiring a lot more add-on for the enterprise grade features, and you might be paying a lot when you are going to be using 10, 15, 20 different add-ons for all of those enterprise capabilities that might be out of the box, let's say with Adobe or Optimizely. But having said that, BigCommerce is still a very strong commerce platform, and for those reasons, it ranks at number 2 on our. Number 1 on our list is going to be a platform called Shopify. And Shopify has one of the largest ecosystem overall when it comes to its support for the payment providers, different shipping options, different integrations that you are going to have. Shopify is really targeted for B2C centric organization that are going to have very consumer friendly product, and it's not really targeted for B2B companies. It's a very SMB product, and the main strength of Shopify is going to be that it's going to have really deep capabilities for B2C organization. The other strength for Shopify is going to be the omni-channel commerce experience is going to be far deeper. The number of options that you are going to have. Shopify has the POS integrated as part of its suite. So let's say if you are an apparel brand or if you are a style brand and you are trying to enable that omni-channel experience across the devices, across stores, that's where Shopify could be very handy because you don't have to have as many moving pieces in your architecture. If you are going to be using a different POS, then different e-commerce, then different your ERP, and if your data model is not going to be really aligned, that integration is not only going to be expensive, it's also going to be very limiting and extremely difficult to execute, and there is a very high chance that integration may never work. And this is where Shopify could be very handy in enabling that omni-channel experience, because your PaaS, if you can live with Shopify PaaS and e-commerce, if you can live with both of those, then you are reducing your integration complexity significantly. And now the other strength for Shopify is going to be overall its ecosystem in terms of the amount of options that it has. The weakness for Shopify is going to be the limited number of product variants. So let's say if you are a B2C organization, but you might have B2B as part of your business model as well, and if it might have a lot of different variations of that product, then even though you are a B2C brand primarily, Shopify may still struggle just because it does not support those B2B workflows. So for those businesses, BigCommerce may be a better fit. The other weaknesses for Shopify is going to be the transaction fee that Shopify charges, but you are going to pay regardless whether you are paying in terms of the update or hosting, but you need to do your financial analysis in terms of which one is going to be cheaper for you. Just because Shopify charges transaction fee, it does not mean that it is going to be more expensive than the other platforms. So make sure you guys are going to do the financial analysis. The final weakness for Shopify is going to be, it might be challenging for businesses that might be both B2B and B2C. So that's the challenge with Shopify. Having said that, Shopify is one of the strongest e-commerce platform out there, and for those reasons it ranks at number 1 on our list. If you enjoyed this video, we are going to include the link for detailed blog that is going to have much deeper analysis of the criteria as well as of these platforms. So don't forget to check that out. As well as, if you are interested in the audio format, this podcast is also available on Google, Shopify, as well as Apple. And don't forget to subscribe there. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube if you don't want to miss any of these videos. We rely on your comment and analysis and commentary to produce these videos. So make sure you are going to include them in the comment below. And on that note, thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you in the next one.